from Senator Tim Kaine, who's a senior Democrat who is on the Armed Services Committee. Senator Kaine writing today, quote, has President Trump learned nothing from decades of U.S. meddling in Iran and forever wars in the Middle East? Is he too mentally incapacitated to realize that we had a diplomatic agreement with Iran that was keeping its nuclear program in check until he ripped it up during his first term? Senator Kaine saying today that these strikes on Iran are, quote, a colossal mistake and, quote, a dangerous, unnecessary, and idiotic action. An idiotic action, Senator Tim Kaine calls it. Here's Congressman Jim Himes, who's a member of the Gang of Eight, the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee. He says, quote, everything I have heard from the administration before and after these strikes on Iran confirms this is a war of choice with no strategic endgame. It does not appear that Donald Trump has learned the lessons of history. Joining us now is former Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes. Ben, thank you very much for being with us today for this fast-developing story. I really appreciate you making time.
Yeah, good to see you, Rachel.
Let me just ask your reaction in general. For me, I would put to you specifically the point that the president is explicitly saying this is a regime change war. This is intended to change out the government of the nation of Iran. What's your reaction to what he's done and why he's saying he's doing it?
Well, you're exactly right, Rachel. I mean, you and I have been talking about Iran for over 15 years, I think. And this was always the scenario that people were concerned about in terms of where conflict between the United States and Iran could go. This is not a limited strike on nuclear targets. This is not intended to kind of coerce the Iranian government into some negotiation. Trump made clear in his words, and they're making clear in their targets, that this is an effort to remove the Iranian regime. What is astonishing to me is not only is this illegal, but it's totally unnecessary. The Iranian regime posed no greater threat to the United States yesterday than it did 2 years ago or 4 years ago or 5 years ago. If anything, it posed less of a threat and was involved in negotiations on the issue that the United States has always seen as the most important security interest that we have, which is the nuclear program. And absent from that bizarre statement last night, in which he kind of casually referenced the potential deaths of U.S. service members, was any notion of what comes after the regime change. You know, he made a call for the Iranian people to rise up, and then what? Because we've seen that even if you decapitate the regime, even if you remove the regime, that often, in the case of Iraq, in the case of Libya, in the case of Afghanistan, leads to civil war. They can drag on and have all manner of unintended consequences, human and geopolitical, and with the cost being borne by the American taxpayer. So we are in a deeply, deeply uncertain point here right now, and we don't need to be here.
In terms of what might happen next, and if we take the Trump administration, I can't believe I'm saying this, if we take them at their word that they are trying for regime change, I mean, if they were trying to make plausible some sort of populist uprising of the Iranian people to take over their government, to throw out the regime, to confront and defeat the domestic security services, and to displace the Ayatollah and his regime and to install something totally new, presumably there would have been things that the U.S. and its allies could have done to try to build up the capability of that kind of a domestic populist force. Is there any sign that we've done anything like that to actually support the Iranian people toward the type of regime change they seem to be fantasizing about?
I really can't see it, Rachel, because, look, this isn't like in Venezuela where you took out the leader and essentially left the regime in place and Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, becomes the president. They are targeting not just the supreme leader. They seem to be targeting all manner of regime targets. So it's not even decapitation. They seem to be trying to kind of destroy some of the key edifice of the regime itself. And that leaves a vacuum in place in Iran. Now, inside of Iran, the people that are most heavily armed and therefore prepared to seize some vacuum are the more hardline Revolutionary Guard Corps. If you look at the only potential play that has been made about some future government, it was outside of the country with some of the engagement with Reza Pahlavi, the son of the former Shah of Iran, who has some support outside the country. But if you talk to analysts inside of Iran, the idea that you're just going to re-import the son of the Shah into a country of 93 million people with a deeply ideological and entrenched regime, heavily armed factions, and have some transition to democracy. By the way, with probably no foreign forces on the ground, it doesn't seem like Trump has a lot of appetite for that. I just don't see the plausible scenario where this leads. I mean, I could see a situation where Iran is fighting back, their leaders getting taken out. There's some kind of capitulation, but even in that scenario, you still have the elements of a broken regime and power vacuums in Iran and the potential for violence and civil conflict. There's separatist regions in Iran with ethnic minorities. The country itself could fracture. If you talk to people in the region, one of the things that you hear in terms of concerns is what we're seeing, is that Iran will create chaos in the region in its responses, as they've done. But you also hear a concern about a potential fracturing of Iran that leads to significant refugee flows into Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkey, up into Europe. So there are lots of things that could go wrong here, and it's not clear what the best case scenarios that they're even pointing towards.
Right. And when people talk about this blossoming into some sort of region-wide conflict, it's not necessarily that it is a region-wide war. It may be region-wide instability and chaos. And that's part of the reason why. Ben Rhodes, former Deputy National Security Advisor. Ben, I know we're going to be calling on you over the course of the day and into tonight for further advice and analysis on this. It's really grateful. It's really helpful to have you here. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.